Hello, my friends, and welcome to the Space Game Junkie podcast. I, as always, am your co-host, Brian, and joining me, as always, is your co-host, Jim.
Literally unusable.
And your co-host, Spaz.
Hello.
And back from sabbatical, after taking some time off, joining us is your co-host, Hunter. Welcome back, Hunter.
Welcome back, Hunter.
Whoa, that was weird.
That was...
Sorry, I couldn't help myself.
Well done,
well done. Well done.
The Ensign Row drop. Yeah, probably my favorite drop on the Greatest Generation podcast, which if y'all aren't listening to, is a fantastic podcast. And they have some great like audio drops in there, and that's the one they use for Ensign Row. And it's just so perfect.
Are they all like, and his name is Ensign Row?
No. It's just
yeah.
It's just like that. It's just like that bit that Hunter played. It's just, it's like.
Well, no, it's just they do certain things for different characters that like exhibit certain attitudes, and so Ensign Row has this like attitude that's just kind of like she's a tough broad, and so they play John Cena music every time they mention.
Oh,
yeah, like
they have that kind of stuff for like other characters.
Yeah, like they play a little Irish music whenever O'Brien comes around. And
fucking spectacular.
Exactly. So yeah, that's a great podcast. We'll just plug that a little bit because we're big. We're all at least a couple of. Do you guys listen to it? I know Hunter does. Spaz and Jim, have you heard that one?
I don't even watch Star Trek.
Oh, right.
I don't believe in that shit.
Oh. You don't believe
ridiculous. It is freaking
ridiculous. You don't believe in our socialist future? Or
no, I like laser swords.
Our post-scarcity society.
Space wizards. There are no space wizards in Star Trek.
That's not true.
No, there's Q.
Well, unless you get to there's Q.
There's Q and Kevin Uxbridge. There's Kevin Uxbridge, the Dowd, who's a creature of special conscience. And genocided an entire race, just because he was mad.
Which also led to one of Worf's greatest lines: "Good tea, nice house."
Because of that, someone's created Worf Yelp reviews, and it's just like reviews of things that are just like that, like good parking.
This is a warrior's car.
So, folks, tonight we do not have a guest, so we have a topic. We were going to talk about this a couple of months ago, but we got sick, so we rescheduled it for today. But when this topic was created, X4 was fresh on our minds. It had just come out. We were all kind of in that honeymoon phase with it, where we're like, oh my god, you can do all this stuff, even though this game is jank 5.0, whatever it is. Like German jank. Which game is this in the X line? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, 4. It is 5. No,
well, why do they call it 4?
I know, but there was Rebirth, so it's the 5th. There was Rebirth though, so it's the 5th.
Yeah, but we
game.
agreed to never speak of that.
Right. But we got on the topic of usability because the X series is a excellent example of how usability has evolved in space games. I guess games in general, but space games throughout its life. Because, folks, if you've never played a X game, let me sit you down and tell you a story. They're convoluted as hell. It feels like they're made by economists rather than game designers sometimes. Do you know what I mean? And so getting from point A to point B in terms of usability in the game is just not great. And they've gotten better.
And sometimes you start up a game and you go, I don't know what to do with my hands.
Like, they've gotten better. Like, X4 is probably the most usable of the series, but that's still not saying a lot because it still has
Yeah, X's problem is like the map has some wonderful stuff going on as far as controllability, and yet the map also hasn't figured out how to organize information without it stepping on other elements. So you actually will have a pile of windows that are transparent that will stack on top of each other.
I love what they're trying. I love what they're trying to do with the map. I think the map is great, but yeah, they need to work on that sort of UX stuff.
Yeah,
you know, because
it's sometimes I'm just like, that's really cool. Give me a spreadsheet, you know, because some of those things just need to be displayed. Honestly, what would be cool is divide the screen in half. Half of it is an Excel spreadsheet, and the other half is the map. And then whenever you mouse over things on the spreadsheet, it draws a line to it on the map, and vice versa. That God. I think would be the bestest thing.
That would be great.
But
so, so folks, I tried to find a bunch of factors as to what goes into usability, and I came up with about 10. There's some that are in-game and some that are out of game. And if anyone wants to jump in and correct me or come up with new ideas, either in the chat or here, of course, then let me know. But the in-game usability factors I singled out are situational awareness, which is really important, especially in first-person like fighter games. Ease of accessing information, in-game navigation, which we're playing spaceship games, so that's important. Ship or entity management, like whether it's a space station or your ship or whatever, and interacting with the world. So those are the 5 factors I came up with for in-game usability. Does that sound good to you guys?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And out-of-game usability, the accessibility of the settings, like is it easy to get through the menus and whatnot. Save game management, which some games get horrifically wrong. And main menu design, which is not just the settings, but, you know, getting into the game, loading a save, that sort of thing. So I've come up with a list of games I think have good usability, all right usability, and poor usability. And anyone, you can all feel, and if you have any additions to these, feel free to add them. By the way, I'm very tired today, so I might sound a little scattered. I don't know how long I'm going to last. But I want to start with games with good usability. So I have some examples here. For example, I think Free Space 2, and I've brought this game up before, but I think Free Space 2 has excellent usability. It's still, I think, the most usable space fighter combat game ever made. I don't know if anyone can disagree with that. I think 3030 Death War has excellent usability.
Yes.
That game, like, it just makes so much sense. It's like not complicated. It's easy to get to anything and do anything. And it's interactive, like interacting with the world and getting missions and stuff just feels fluid and natural, you know? Now,
it's all intuitive.
It's so intuitive.
It's a huge bonus.
It's so intuitive. Another one I thought of was Starfleet Armada, which I don't know. And I'm not talking about Star Trek Armada, not the RTS game. I'm talking about the kind of 90s-esque roguelike thing that came out a year or two ago, Starfleet Armada Rogue Adventures. Now, say what you want about that game.
Its UI looks daunting after that.
It looks... Yeah. Exactly. Screenshots do not do it justice. But you could play that game entirely with a mouse, controlling every character and doing everything. And all you need is a mouse and 2 buttons.
Or the keyboard.
Or the keyboard.
Just the keyboard.
Or a gamepad.
Or a hybrid of both.
Yeah, or a hybrid. Or a gamepad. And just the fact alone that you could use these multiple control methods to do these varied mini games. Because there's like... you say about a dozen mini games in that game? Yeah.
Sounds about right.
Yeah, but there's this planetary landing, there's probe launching, there's gathering gas. So, yeah, I mean, getting around, it looks daunting. I mean, when you look at the screenshot, you're like, holy crap. But it's actually insanely usable. I
And
think
you can even set up your control scheme for each individual minigame.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that. I never did that. So that's why I forgot about it. I'm like, this is fine. I don't need to play with this. But that you can do that, that's great.
Yeah.
I think Adios Amigos has fantastic usability because that's a game with fully realistic physics, orbital physics, everything. And yet you can just play with a gamepad, land on planets, no problem. It's like, what if we had the physics of Kerbal Space Program, but an interface that's 1,000 times better? That's pretty much Adios Amigos. If you guys haven't played that game, by the way, it's amazing.
It's great.
It's so good. Now, I might get some flack for this one, but I think the original Master of Orion, especially for its time, has excellent usability. It's 25 years old. No, 26 years old this year now. Oh my God. Oh God. It's 26 years old, you guys.
That's a lot of years.
Oh geez. Okay, that just hits you sometimes. Anyway.
We're old.
Yeah, we are. But that game is still so playable today. And it does not take... Like, I still understand why everyone's emulating Master of Orion 2, because that game's like 10, 15 times more complicated than Master of Orion 1, and doesn't need to be. You know? Because you get all the same gameplay fun from Master of Orion 1 with a much simpler interface. I don't get that. Like, why is everyone trying to emulate Mu 2? Now, this game... was a surprise to me, but the first time I played Nexus the Jupiter Incident, I thought it was going to be really daunting. You know, it's like, oh, fully tactical 3D starship combat, like real time. This is going to be crazy, but it's got such an elegant interface. You know, it's so elegant that it's so easy to manage one or multiple starships with multiple systems, targeting, everything. It's just like you look at the game, you're like, oh God, how can I manage this? But it's great. It's shockingly great. And yeah, it took a lot. I thought a lot about these, and that one was a surprise to me. Elite Dangerous. Say what you want about Elite Dangerous. It has good usability. It really does. I mean, the menus are easy. Everything makes sense. Whether you're using head tracking VR or just the keyboard to move around the menus and everything, it's easy to do what you need to do. It's just sad there's nothing to do in the game itself. But flying around your spaceship and managing things and navigating, yeah, that's really not hard. And the final game that I was going to suggest is Objects in Space, which... if you look at it, it's like it's mouse and text driven. You like type, you know, if you go into your mail, you go to a terminal and type mail. Like, how can this be easy? But like, it like feels really right. If you haven't played it, it like feels like an efficient, elegant submarine sim in space where everything is that needs to be mouse controlled is, and everything that needs to be text controlled is.
Yeah, I feel like where that game wins and loses is in skeuomorphism, because it simulates skeuomorphism, kind of like how if you make a digital thing but you make it look like it's real world mundane thing, you know. So like my notepad in my digital thing actually looks like a spiral notebook on the screen or whatever, you know, like your calendar. Remember like the old iPhones had a calendar that actually looked like a leather bound calendar. So here they have actual like toggle switches that you flip and big red buttons that you flip the cover and then push the button, that kind of skeuomorphism stuff. Right. So it's a digital approximation of a real thing, because you know in real life, if you saw that thing, what you'd do with it. So that's how they kind of message that, which works. The downside of that is that you have to flip levers and crap. Right, in order to operate the ship, but that's kind of the charm of it.
Oh, it's the charm.
But
It's
But
so
have you
terrible.
ever gotten in an intense fight in that game? Because it's
I've
just
got-
like, oh God, what should I be doing?
I've gotten in several intense runaway sessions.
Yeah.
Like, oh, look, there's an asteroid field. I'm going to fly through that. I'm going to zig and zag through that and try and lose them. I did once.
Yeah,
It's great.
that game is very difficult to play.
Yeah.
But it's very much on purpose.
Oh,
So
God.
and it's all about interacting with the ship. It's not so much like, oh, the game's hard because of other reasons. It's like, no, the controls are purposefully in your way, but it's not an offensive way. It's like, this is part of the fun.
Yeah, like when you have to, like, in the middle of a fight, like, oh, this thing that I really need is broken. I got to run over to the engineering room, unscrew this thing, open it up, turn it off, fix it, turn it back on, unscrew everything. Like, and you're still being shot at, and you're like, ah! It's great. Like, there's really no
It's
other
kind of
game
like Deep
it.
Sixth in that regard.
Yeah, a little bit, but this is even more I don't know about convoluted, but complex, because Deep Sixth was a little more efficient in its UI. Like,
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
Get the thing from the room and drag it to your inventory, then drag it to where it needs to be. This is like, I don't know if you guys have played Deep Objects in Space, but like, to fix a thing, you have to figure out which system it is, go there, turn it off, unscrew the screws for the cover, open the cover, remove the thing that's broken, replace it with a new thing, put the cover back, turn it on, reconnect it to the ship. So it's like a dozen steps at least to fix like one thing. And if you don't have a spare for that part that's broken, yeah, good luck at that. I don't know about you, Jim. Have you guys played it, Spaz and you guys played Objects in Space yet?
I played the. No, actually, no. I have not played Objects in Space.
Okay. Okay. Well.
Yeah, I don't think I have.
Okay. Well, each system has specific components it can use, and you can buy those components at any station. So it's good to have a few on hand for when things do break. And if you don't, you just can't fix it. You're without that thing. Like, you might lose your map, or you might lose an engine and you can't fix it. So it's like, oh shit. But even with that that purposeful complexity, it's still great usability. Really, really great usability, I think. Can you guys think of any games you'd like to contribute to the list that have, in your opinion, really good usability? It doesn't have to be a space game. I mean, that's a focus, of course. But if something else comes to mind, don't hesitate to shout it out.
I'm going to say, because I praised it pretty heavily whenever we had the dev on a couple weeks ago, Star Dynasties is pretty huge on it.
Yeah, I agree with that one. I agree with that. Yeah, that's a really...
And then the other one is Nexus.
Yeah,
because that thing
shockingly
it hits
good,
on
right?
It hits on all cylinders, right? So
yeah, shockingly good. Like, you look at the box and you're like, oh boy, how hard is this going to be? But
I got a few I can throw in.
Oh yeah,
and also for the negatives, I got to throw in Distant Worlds Universe.
Oh come on,
fine. Oh god,
fine.
Everything but the UI is great.
Yeah, no, you're not wrong. I can't really.
I was gonna say, for like usability, I like how Fractured Space does things.
Really? I don't think I've played enough of it. Go ahead.
It's definitely come a long way from like where it's first started, but like I definitely feel that it's unfortunate because it's essentially a space MOBA, which is not like necessarily a bad thing, but that's kind of the gameplay mode that you're in. But controlling the ships is actually hella easy, and I think definitely playing with friends is a lot of fun in that as well. But I'm trying to think of like any other games, space games specifically, that I like where usability is just fantastic. Not necessarily like a space game, but classic RTSs like StarCraft have pretty good usability and fun.
I do love speaking of RTSs where like there's no like standardization at all in the UI of those games. Like at all. It's really great. Especially in the mid 90s where everyone was making an RTS and some people use left click, some people use right click. It's like, can you guys figure it out? Please.
Yeah, now that MOBAs are on the scene, it's like QWERT has become a whole different set of controls as opposed to what it used to be. Yeah.
Spaz, you said you had a couple?
Yeah, I would throw in Rebel Galaxy.
Is this for good usability?
Well, for good.
Okay.
Because I found it to be fine for in terms of information and situational awareness. It was all there for me.
Right.
I'd also throw in Space Rangers HD.
Yeah, okay. I'll give you that one. That's a really good ad. Yeah, because that game has so much going on, and yet you moving around the universe is not a complex affair, even though there's a billion things going on around you. That's a good point. That's a real good point,
and
actually.
The third I would throw in there would be Star Traders Frontiers.
Okay, that's all right. All right, yeah, no, I'll give you that one. There's a lot going on with that game too, but they've guys, if you haven't played Star Traders Frontiers, put that high on your list because not only is it a great game, but they are constantly making it better. Memory Leak Death over in our Discord says House of the Dying Sun. Okay, I mean, yeah, I guess I can go with that one.
It's pretty simple. I'm unfortunate. I feel it's unfortunate that he ripped out my joystick code and just went with a gamepad. I'm not salty.
I'm still salty about what Enemy Starfighter used to be and what House of the Dying Sun became. I'm still.
Yes, that is my gripe with that as well. It's not bad for what it is now.
No, it's great dogfighting. It is great dogfighting, but it's this short linear campaign where before it was like this big open map where it's like, where can I cause trouble? Let's go over here. Let's go over here. It was so great. I'm still sad about that. Maybe someday he'll redo it. I don't know what he's up to now. Was that his only game? I think it might have been his only game. I'll have to check in with him. I haven't talked to him in a while. So, yeah, I think we can all agree House of the Dying Sun has good usability. Beyond our beyond the various opinions of the gameplay itself, usability wise, that's a pretty solid game. Yeah, I too miss the joystick stuff.
No comment.
Yeah, I too miss the joystick stuff, but getting that good dogfighting with a gamepad, yeah, that's pretty good. That's pretty impressive.
Well, not necessarily a space game.
Okay,
but well, actually, no, I take that back. What Pulsar? So Pulsar is interesting because there's a lot of things going on at once.
It's true. It's true.
And I like the simplicity of just like walking up to something and clicking on it. So they don't make it too overly complex, I don't think. Which is nice, right?
That's
like
true.
you're not like you're not doing the whole I don't know what to do with my hands. But then on the flip side to that, a game that is not a space game, but it is in that genre would be Guns of Icarus. Now,
yeah.
So the thing about Guns of Icarus, though, that is the gripe and tough, is learning how to fly. Learning how to fly is a hurdle in that game.
So would that knock it down to? Because I also have games with okay usability. Would that knock it down to okay usability?
Yeah, that was my segue.
Oh, I see. Oh no, no, that's
it has
great.
quite the learning curve. Yeah,
It does. It does. That's a good point. That's a good point. No, that's a good seg. That's a good seg. I like that. So that's a good list of games with really good usability. That's a good list. All right, so now we're going to move on to the usability. You know, it's all right. Could be better. I'm going to go out there and say Drox Operative. Wonderful game. Wonderful game. The UI, it can be a bit much sometimes.
Really? Because I mean, it's like, have you played Diablo?
Well,
It's
yeah,
the same,
I know that's my issue with that too. Like managing the inventory, especially. Like there are a few that's probably my biggest gripe with Drox Operative and many ARPGs is inventory management. Like,
yeah, but I feel like it cashes in on familiarity, though. It's like it might be bad, but it's the same bad that you know and like.
Yeah, that's probably true.
it's excessively bad.
Yeah. like it's not terrible, but it could be better, I think. Like even if it just had like some kind of sorting function maybe or something. But and that's also like a lot of people have hurdles with that game because it's different than other ARPGs because there's no like rooms and like, you know, I kind of feel, I hate to knock this against it, but a lot of the complaints I get about this game when I tell people about it is like, I couldn't get how to do anything. I'm like, you're in a star system. You fly around and fly planets and shoot stuff. How complex is that? But some people seem to have issue with that. Like they need rooms and corridors and stairs. I'm like, all right, I guess. I don't get it. But, yeah, sadly, there are things that prevent that game from clicking with people, which makes me very sad. I don't know if you guys. Oh, go ahead.
No, you go ahead, please.
No, I was going to move on to the next game. What were you going to say?
Oh, I was going to mention a different game that I didn't quite know where to put it because on one hand, part of the game has great usability and is a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm.
And then on the other hand, there's a completely different side of the game that has poor usability and makes you just want to rage.
And
can you guys guess it? Can you guys guess it?
Warhammer.
What?
Oh.
No. Think about it for a second. What space game do you know of that has something that's really awesome in it, but has something that's really crappy that makes you not want to play?
Oh yeah, Star Citizen.
Is that where you were going?
I got it. Okay, yeah. Okay.
Well, it's the same.
Star Trek Online was going to be
oddly,
the thing because
it is exactly the same problem. I don't want to do any of that bullshit with my boots. I want to do it in the spaceship. Yeah, and that's where both games fuck up. So one more than the other.
Fair.
Yeah, like I really enjoy Star Trek Online, but whenever I have to do an away mission, it's like, oh fuck. And you know what I think would fit? They don't. Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say there's just really not a lot of compelling stuff there. Now, it's not that like it's boring like do tricorder shit. It's not that. It's like there's not the combat system doesn't make a lot of sense. It turns it into a different kind of play style than what you're doing up in space, as where like the space stuff is like all action, and then everything is like interrupted with all kinds of weirdness. I don't know. The ground missions are really hard to describe. They're not compelling at all.
I think what kills me about the ground missions is that they make you walk slow and run slow to make the missions feel larger than they actually are. That's what gets me every fucking time I do a ground mission. It's like, why am I just trudging along? I'm supposed to be this fit Starfleet officer, you know? And yet I'm just like,
Well, the stuff that I hate is when they FedEx you in the same mission. You know, it's like, run up here and do these things and then talk to this guy. And then, oh yeah, talk to this other person. Where are they? Way back at the place that you beamed down at. So I got to run the hell back over there and have like a 2-word conversation with somebody. and then run all the way back up to the front. It's like, oh my God. And then, it being Star Trek, right? It's like, shouldn't be a lot of violence, whatever. And then they threw that out because it's like, oh, Klingons are beaming down. 5,000 Klingons are beaming down. 2 at a time. Kill them. Yeah, and it's like, the combat is bad. So just take it out. If the ground combat stuff wasn't there, the ground stuff would be so better. Right? Because I don't really care about shooting hand phasers at
yeah, the space stuff.
If the ground stuff was actual exploration, and you actually have to do, say, diplomacy as your, having to negotiate between different factions, that sort of thing, mediate situations where you're not actually focused on combat.
Right. Like, how often did Picard get a phaser out?
Wasn't often.
Nope.
The line must be drawn here, this far, no farther.
There are 4 lines.
There are 4 lines.
Anyway.
There are 4 lines.
Yeah, it's a shame because the space stuff in Star Trek Online is great, and they have so much content. And whenever I start playing, because I'm like, I love Star Trek, I want to get to Deep Space Nine. Oh God!
Go beam down over here and save the tribbles.
Yeah, great. So it's just like that's what's so great about Eve, even though Eve has its own problems. But it's like you never leave the ship.
I'll get to that. I'll get to Eve.
It's like Interstate 76. Don't get out of the car. I don't want to get out of the ship. Basically.
Yeah. Well, if they would re-roll Star Trek into something like MechWarrior Online / War Thunder / World of Tanks, I would play the shit out of some Starfleet World of Tanks. Oh yes, like advance up through the tech tree. Give me a frigate. I have to go in and win. They could call it like the Star Trek Online Tactical Simulation.
Can't you do that? Like, doesn't STO have a thing like that? I thought it did.
It's got PvP, but it's unfortunately there's nobody playing it.
No, there is. You just have to get in with the communities that are doing it.
Well, because it's all private invite, right?
Well, yes, because PvP doesn't matter. It doesn't really matter.
There's no advancement.
In other words, you have to go up with the top groups that are playing. Like, you have to join their fleets and do their stuff with them. You get in and you get on, like, anytime you get into STO. Just go sit in your ship outside of like Earth Space Dock or Deep Space Nine. There's always like 15 to 20 ships just sitting there, and those are people.
Yeah.
Right.
So I mean, there's people in there.
I guess my point though is more that I really wish that it was a game where combat was the advancement, right? Where it's like, you fight so many times and you get awarded like points that you spend on a ship or upgrades for a ship or whatever. Just make it damn World of Tanks, essentially. If you ever played World of Tanks, that's the game I want. But I want to do it in
maybe that's that timeline. Is that Timelines game? Maybe Star Trek Timelines. Maybe
that's some mobile bullshit.
Oh, there's a Steam version, isn't there? I thought there was.
Yeah, but isn't it like a deck building card game or some crap?
No, it's not. It's not. You're thinking of, there is another game that is a deck building style.
Oh,
game.
So what is Timelines then? Is that actually ship combat?
It is ship combat, but it is very limited in its scope. It would be along the lines of the combat in Endless Space.
Oh God!
But without the cards, you're actually selecting your actions. But then you select your actions, and then they take time to charge up, and then
kill me,
like MMO combat.
No. The game is real time. It's just that the meters will charge up as you're actually in the combat, and it's pretty terrible.
But it's cooldown based then. But I'm saying that kind of makes it turn based, because so what makes the difference is, do the actions share the same cooldown timer, or does each one have its individual cooldown timer? Because
individual charge up and cooldowns.
Okay, so that's better.
But the rest of the combat in real time, and the ship auto attacks. But one of the main problems with Timelines, and I played it on my tablet for quite a bit before I dropped it, is because It's pay to win. It's just
Icky.
it's severely pay to win.
I think you're thinking of Star Trek Adversaries, right? Is that what you were saying earlier? The card
Yeah,
Adversaries is the other one, yes.
Yeah, that's what
and that's also pay to win.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, I was in the beta for that, and I said,
why is it so hard to
no,
get a Star
don't
Trek?
get this when it comes out. Do not get this when it comes out.
Why is it so hard to get a Star Trek game right? I don't get that. There's
I don't know. Like, there was good ones, but they're like you're hard to find.
They're hard to find.
They're not re-releasing them.
They're not re-releasing. They're hard to find. They don't all run well. And like, let's go back to Star Trek Online. Like, they seem to be putting all of their freaking content into that basket. Like, why not make a Star Trek Discovery game? Why not have a game where we're Lorca or something? That might be fun. But no.
I no, you know what? I hate to say it though, and I'm being honest here. I don't think anybody would buy it. Or at least, I mean, not like of course there's gonna be people that are gonna buy it, but like I don't think it's gonna be like sustainable. Like, you're not gonna see a huge profit return on a Star Trek Discovery game. There's I like love it or hate it. I don't really care, honestly. I mean, personally, I'm not a fan of it, but like there are people that do enjoy it. The greatest gen guys being some of them, which kind of shocked the crap out of me. But
yeah, like, they like that and don't like the Orville. I do not understand that at all.
Yeah, and that's the thing that's kind of interesting to me about like Star Trek in general as an IP, as like a game thing, where I think after Star Trek 2009, they came out with a Star Trek 2009 game. And then like after that, I feel like everything else has been either mobile schlock or they've done some VR shenanigans with Bridge Crew. Now, Bridge Crew isn't necessarily bad, but it's a one-trick pony, right? It's very much...
It does that trick very well, mind you.
Yeah,
right.
But I'll agree, it's a one-trick pony.
It's a very impressive trick, don't get me wrong, but like at the end of the day, you're not playing it on a regular basis or very often. As for Star Trek Online, they're throwing everything at Star Trek Online. And I think that's the problem that Star Wars Galaxies ended up suffering by the end of its life cycle, right?
Yeah.
So like Star Wars Galaxies, when it first came out, it was like the timeline it takes place in was between episodes 4 and 5, A New Hope and Empire. Like, that's where you were placed in the galaxy far, far away. It was a very complex game, very in depth. And then they started going in and adding prequel movie content to it. And it got really interesting because they added in like Trial of the Wookiees and Mustafar and like the Ghost of Obi-Wan, and you know, you can get General Grievous's ship and all that stuff. And then they turned it into a WoW clone, not necessarily in a bad but like they just started throwing everything Star Wars into like one thing. And I'm just like, well, clone armor, like, why does that person have clone armor? That's not, it's, you know, it's like you ever like go like talk to a Renaissance festival like fanatic. They'll look at you and be like, that's not period. Like, you can't wear that.
What are you wearing, God? What are you wearing? That's garbage.
Right.
Yeah, it's like Gorgets didn't come into fashion.
So anyway, I feel like that's the same kind of issue that Star Trek Online is getting is they're throwing every iteration, because at this point there's like 3 or 4 different versions of Star Trek in one game now. And while people can divvy up their lore any way you want to, it makes it really weird. Like it's too many things existing at the same time in one space. No pun intended. But like, you know where I'm going with this. Like, you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I just think that's going to end up hurting them more than it's going to help them. But who knows? I could be wrong. I mean, only having one game to like only one like thing to throw your stuff at, you're not really losing out because it's an already established game. You just have to, you know, have them develop a few more extra assets. Get a guy to do some voiceover.
Apparently, there's people still playing it. Like, apparently, it's got a decent population. I mean, it's on 2 consoles, right? It's on PS4 and Xbox, right? As well as the PC.
And PC, yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, it's got a fairly healthy population, so I guess why not?
It's basically, if you want to play Star Trek, well, that's your choice.
That's pretty much, unless you want to try and go back and get Dominion Wars running or something. Good luck with that. Just
Yeah.
Starfleet Command.
yeah.
Damn it, I just want Starfleet battles. That's all I want. I want to play frickin' Starfleet battles with people, and stick it in the an engine that's like Gothic Armada is using, right? Except Starfleet, and we're done. That's it. Because basically, it would be old school Starfleet Command, right? Just updated engine and isometric view, better camera, better all those things,
And elevations to deal with because
It's space.
Well, I mean, the Starfleet Command was always flat plane.
Yeah,
but Star Trek in general is always flat plane. Look at like the big Dominion War battles.
If you look at Battlefleet Gothic Armada, it is also flat.
Yeah,
right. It's tabletop.
It's an accessibility thing. Yeah,
I'm cool with that.
But that's also kind of the trope of science fiction, right?
Yeah. Well, it's the thing specific to Starfleet that you have 6 shield facings, and then if you want to take that and instead of 6 shield facings, like make it a polyhedron, like a D12. Oh God, no, I don't want to deal with that. So, I just need to worry about, is it hitting me on the left side or the right side, front or back? We're good.
Yeah.
But oh God, I miss Starfleet Command. Wow, I miss that game. Yeah. But I can't stand to look at it. Like if I put the old one on.
Oh, Memory Leak Death over in Discord has an interesting notion. What about like like Battlestar Galactica Deadlock in Star Trek? That could work.
Yes.
Yeah,
that
could work for me.
No, exactly that.
That could work great. Yeah.
Star Trek, Star Wars, you can take any of those tabletop systems, drop them in that engine, and you're good. Right? Which is what I told the dev when he was on the thing.
Yeah.
Back when, right? Is please don't make me fight Space Shrimp, but if you can please put in workshop support so that people can put in a whole bunch of IPs that you can't, and we'll get this done. And well, we got BSG, which is cool, but oh God, if it was imagine how better it would sell if it was Star Trek or Star Wars instead of BSG.
Maybe BSG is a cheaper license. I don't. Maybe it's
it's a desperate license. Nobody was making anything for it.
Well, not only that, it's probably a less complex license to get your hands on. Like who the fuck?
Yeah, and the last BSG game was BSG Online, which was not great. Heavily pay to win.
Yeah, not great. Yeah, that's accurate. Excelsior over on Twitch says, "I just want to play Worf so everyone can ignore my input and do what they wanted to do anyway."
Not be able to open doors. We understand.
Just have everyone tell you no. That's the title of the game. No, Worf. That's the title of the game. Just no. Belay that order.
Just once, I wanted Worf to say, I think that we should approach them in a friendly manner. And then Picard would be like, shields up. Let's charge phasers. He'd have to use reverse psychology on Picard to get them photons long.
God, that'd be funny. All right, some other games that I put down with okay usability. I don't know if you guys remember Beyond Soul. Really fun, like action RPG / city builder game.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
Good game, but the UI was could have been better. I'm going to say Master of Orion 2 has merely okay usability. It's more complicated than it needs to be, I think. The Wing Commander series, not the best usability, not the worst.
Really?
It's not great.
Because it was like what? Like
terrible.
A for autopilot and C for communications.
But it also, like, after you play... Okay, I'm going to just be honest. After you play Free Space 2, just about anything pales in comparison. So
yeah, but I don't feel a giant rift between Wing Commander and Free Space 2. To me, Free Space 2 is just more of that.
Right, but here's what I'm saying.
You don't have to listen to Maniac run his mouth, thank God.
But here's what I'm saying. The spaceflight part of the Wing Commander games is not the primary thing. That's just this part to get you from one part of the story to the other. So the space combat is ultimately really simplistic overall.
Yeah. All right. So let me ask you a question then. As far as the feel of space flight, and this could be like a 4-hour podcast argument on this one, right?
All right.
Is
sure.
In Star Wars, you got roll with the yaw, right? So whenever you turn left or right, the ship would kind of pitch down a little bit. And in the Wing Commander games, it was just pure input, X or Y, right? So it felt a little more like flying a desk because the ship didn't have a third dimension to its, unless you induce it. If you want to go up or down, you got to push or pull on the stick. And with Star Wars, if you just lean it to the side, then the ship has a little bit of a pitch response to that as well.
And that felt great.
It did, didn't it? Like, and I believe Free Space does that as well.
A little bit,
maybe a little more subtle.
Well, the X-Wing Alliance added roll.
Yeah. Well, yeah, they all had roll.
Yeah. But then you had to hold. Well, in the earlier X-Wings, you had to hold the second button.
Button 2, to roll.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, having actually foot pedals in the thing was great.
But I mean, you even games of its time like TIE Fighter, X-Wing, Star Crusader had more tools for situational awareness and targeting and whatnot than Wing Commander did. Like Wing Commander was really simplistic. So I think that's kind of a mark in its favor, but I also think it's a mark against it. Like it's a little too simple.
It had more simplicity, but it gave up feel. And I think the feel was the return on investment for the feel was better.
It's kind of a shame that the one that felt best was Prophecy, the last one. It had the best engine, the best flight engine, the best graphics engine, and it felt more like Free Space and TIE Fighter than any of the others.
Yeah, how was the story though? Because I don't remember anything other than
you fought
like,
space
hey, it's
shrimp.
aliens.
You would have hated. You fought space shrimp. You would have hated it.
Yeah, but they were blue, I think. So
Were they
that's
blue?
okay. It's the pink ones that freaked me out.
Oh,
Blue or
no,
green or
they
something.
weren't pink. They weren't pink.
The thing I remember about Prophecy was they changed the explosions so that they all looked like the special edition Death Star explosion with that ring that comes out from the
Yeah.
It was like they went Lucas to the max with that thing.
Yeah, but it's kind of a shame that was the last game of the series with the best engine. I think even though I love the game, I think Star Trek Klingon Academy has all right usability. It could be better, but considering how much it's modeling, it does a pretty good job with its like. Who here's played it? I know Hunter, you've played it, right? And I know you've played it.
We did a community night with it.
Yeah, Spaz, have you played Klingon Academy?
Only briefly.
Okay, but do you remember the number system I'm talking about, where it's like one is helm? Yeah, that was. I mean, it wasn't the best, but for all the stuff you had available, it was.
You had
really
a lot of stuff you could do, but I thought that whole I have to memorize a sequence of numbers. It's like to execute commands. It's like what's my phone number? It's like 1, 3, 5, 2.
To be done.
Yeah.
Given how much had to be done, it's not surprising that they went with that system.
Did it support voice commands?
Not natively, but at the time there was a thing called Game Commander that I used.
Right.
Where it took me like hours, but I input every freaking command into the game, into Game Commander.
But did you put them in as a sequence of commands? So if you were powered engines.
Oh God, yeah.
It was free for engineering and.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. You would have all these macros, all these macros where it'd be like, set power settings for cloak, or whatever, and it would go 1, 2, 1, and it'd be great. It was like, yeah, I'm in fucking charge of this shit, and it was great. It was great. But
yeah, the thing I didn't like about that game was how easy it was to ram other ships, and then you just bounce off.
Like everybody rammed everyone. like in Star Trek, ramming should be freaking catastrophic, and yet in this game, it's like doink, doink. It's like two die-cast cars just going boink, boink, and like that's really like it's not like you would think ships like that ramming each other would be like crunch, crunch, death. Ah, nope, not really. Just kind of boink. So yeah.
Well, because it would have been game over really quick for most people.
So just don't have them ram each other for God, whatever.
Yeah.
But I mean, yeah, that's probably the biggest complaint about that game is the ramming. I mean that.
So hats off to Sulu, who never ran into anything. So I gotta say,
I was actually going to mention. Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, on the other hand, there's the Bozeman maneuver.
Yikes!
What were you going to say?
I was actually going to mention another game entirely, which was Star Wars Rogue Squadron.
Oh, I don't think I've played that one. Rogue Squadron, actually. Is that?
I would say it has pretty decent usability. I wouldn't say it's like amazing. The flight in it was pretty straightforward, but it's also that arcadiness. So like you're not doing, you're not really flying upside down. There's not a lot of, it's that limited 3D space that you're flying around in.
Yeah, that was a game that was all about limited things, like limited view distance. Because it came out in the Nintendo 64 era, and it's like,
but it was
even
also
on
the
PC. But even on PC, man, it had a wall of fog like 5 feet in front of you, so it was a little rough.
I don't think you remember the PC version as much. But
I own it. I got it on GOG. It's like, yeah, the second one was better.
Yeah, well, the GameCube 2 and 3 were a lot better.
I still can't get past the first mission of Rogue Squadron 2. I can't.
Hey, and you know what else?
4 times.
There's a theme, right? What's the shitty parts of Rogue Squadron 2 and 3? Where you got to run around on foot.
Oh yeah. Well, not in 2. 2 didn't.
I thought
have
only
that.
3. Yeah,
3
3 is the one that had that. Yeah, I heard that was terrible.
Yeah.
You like ride around on a freaking tauntaun. And I'm like,
come on. Well,
you thought the controls were bad on the outside.
Another game.
Oh, nice.
The graphics are terrible on the inside.
Another game I was going to mention with, I think, okay usability are the Star Wolves games. I don't know if you guys have played those. They're kind of
best voice acting ever.
Oh no, they're not. They're so rough. Oh my god. Folks, if you haven't played the Star Wolves games, they are available on Steam. They came out in the mid-aughts, where it was a dry period of space gaming. And so a lot of the games we got were from Eastern Europe or Russia. And so the voice acting was not great. And
it's like, shut off the voice acting, just listen to the subtitle or read the subtitles, and you'll be
in Russia. Ship flies you.
Yeah. Oh,
yeah.
God.
What's Spaz? What is that
old.
Star Wars thing? Where they like translated it to Chinese and then back into English and to Turkish.
Yeah. It's referred to as the backstroke of the West.
Yeah, thank you.
Cut of Revenge of the Sith. And yes, it was indeed translated by bootleg Chinese people into Chinese from English and then back to English. And it is mostly incomprehensible. There is a video. There is a video of it where I actually linked it in the Discord a while ago. And it's the entire movie.
I watched some of that, and it was like, what the hell am I watching? Like, it's none of this. Like, how could anyone understand what's going on with this dialogue? Like,
well, originally, it was just the subtitles. But then a dub team took that subtitle script, and then they redubbed the movie, which is what that video is.
Amazing.
And then if you really want to get meta for it, you watch that version of the movie with the riff tracks because, well, yeah, it becomes amazing after that.
Wow, that's actually not a bad idea. I've
done it. I've done it. It's
I think
great.
we're gonna do that. I think we're gonna do that. That sounds like a great. That sounds like you get like a couple of bottles of wine, you sit back, and you load up the riff tracks for that version. Put the YouTube on your TV.
What do you mean wine, Brian? You're in California. You get some giant bong hits and some edibles.
No, I don't.
Go to town.
I don't do that. I don't do that. I'm more about.
I know that's half your problem. Do you know how like better it would be?
Jesus.
No.
Just do an edible, get super fucking paranoid, and then do the show. You'd be like,
not happening. Where was I? Oh yes. So back to so yeah, guys, if you haven't played the Star Wolves games, we got on a big tangent about voice acting in there. They're real-time, like tactical role-playing space combat games where you don't fly the ship yourselves, but you like have it's kind of like a real-time strategy game, but like kind of XCOM-y in that you only have a few units and a mothership and whatnot. And they're actually really good games. But like there's some weird interface foibles. Like anytime you jump to a new system, like if you're having your fighters follow the mothership, you have to select them again and follow the mothership again. It's like, I just told you to do this. Why did I tell you to do this again?
It's mainly quality of life stuff.
Yeah.
The game itself, once you're actually in the thick of it, it's great.
Yeah.
That applies to all three of them.
Yeah, they're all great games. And you can get them for like a song on the next Steam sale or whatever if you haven't played them. They actually are quite pretty still. And
hint, next month.
Is there a sale next month?
There's always a Chinese New Year sale.
Oh God, that's right, Chinese New Year.
You know, the Humble Bundle winter sale has not quit yet. I don't know if it will ever end.
It's still going? What?
It is still going. I got their page up right now.
That's like the longest sale. Come on.
Right. It's like when they say winter sale, they mean all winter.
It must be all winter. Oh, no, it ends January 24th, which is in 2 days.
Oh.
Well, get on that, folks. If you haven't bought a thing yet, right now you can get a Cultist Simulator for $14.99 or, what's another thing? Wreckfest for $30.14. That's an interesting price. That's a great game, by the way. But where was it?
Not to be confused with Rectum Fest. That's entirely different.
So I don't know if
I
don't know if any of you guys have played this, but this one might get me some guff. I think, even with all its complexity, I think the Rules of Engagement games had pretty good usability, especially given how much you had to work with those games. Have you guys played them at all? Any of you?
I did back when 16 colors is all you got.
Yeah, this was VGA, EGA, or CGA.
I just remember the game was primarily hot pink and yellow. And it was like,
Oh, geez.
You had to really like that.
Yeah. So basically, folks, this game is like, they call it on Star Trek Next Generation, they call it LCARS. I forget what that means. Does anyone remember what that means? That's the name of the interface on the Enterprise and whatnot. And that's what this game emulates, like to a freaking T, And so there's so many buttons and there's so many screens. And you can only have 4 screens up, but there's like 30 screens. And so you have to cycle through them all the time. So you might have a tactical screen and a communication screen, and there's a lot going on. These are full-blown Starship simulators. So there's a lot going on. And yet, even with all these buttons and all these controls, it's still, like, so much fun. Library Computer Access and Retrieval System is apparently what LCARS means. Thank you, Memory Leak Death, over on Discord. That's a crazy-ass acronym. I wouldn't have thought that. But, yeah, so if you guys... So if you guys haven't played Rules of Engagement 1 or 2, they came out in the early 90s. They're from Impressions, which went on to make city builders like Pharaoh and Zeus and Caesar. But they're...
Good games.
Right. If you want like a detailed Starship simulator, they're still like top of the list next to Klingon Academy.
Is that the one that integrated with Breach?
Yep.
And then you could do boarding action?
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, Rules of Engagement 1 integrated with Breach 2, and then Rules of Engagement 2 integrated with Breach 3. So, not confusing at all. But yeah, in certain scenarios, you can also build scenarios in the game. I don't know how people exchange them, but you can build scenarios, and if it had the right flag or whatever, you could actually do a boarding action in breach. Which
Do you have a flag?
No, we don't have a flag. It's our country. We don't need one, you bastard. Never gets old. He's going on tour, by the way. I don't know if you know that, he's going on a big tour. Eddie Izzard, yeah, he's going on a big tour. So if you guys haven't seen him live, definitely do so. He's great live. He is great live.
Did you ever see the Showtime show, The Green Room? You can get all the episodes of it on YouTube.
No, never.
Yeah, it's a bunch of comedians like sitting around in a circle, BSing with each other, kind of thing, with an audience around.
Yeah, there's an Eddie Izzard episode that's pretty good.
Oh, I believe it. He's. I saw him at a small show once do like test material, and that was such a stream of consciousness show, like none other I've seen.
Yeah, this show's pretty weird, right? Because like sometimes it's a bunch of guys that get along and they're just there trying to make each other bust up, and it's complete improv, right? And then some of the other ones, they get some people that don't like each other, and I thought there was going to be a fist fight on one of them. I was just oh damn, yeah. So it's interesting. I think it got significantly worse in the second season because they got a lot of people that were more political, right? So then it turned into like, let's have political spats instead of jokes. So yeah, but the first season was gold.
So it's called The Green Room. Okay,
yes.
I'll have to look that up because
it was a Showtime jam.
I'm a huge fan of stand-up comedy, so I'll have to look that up.
Have you been to the Comedy Store? It's right down the street from you.
Yeah, the one in Pasadena? Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's the Sunset Strip. The one in Pasadena is something else. But yeah, I've been to the Improv and the Comedy Store and the Magic Club. Yeah,
because Comedy Store is where like Joe Rogan, Andrew Dice Clay, Joey Diaz, all those dudes hang.
I saw.
It's like if I come out there, that's what I come out there for. Other than to hang out with you, is we're going to the freaking Comedy Store.
I think I saw Jim Gaffigan there years ago.
Yeah,
when I used to go out at night. Back in the days when I would go out on weeknights. I think I saw Jim Gaffigan there. Oh no, and I accidentally saw Pauly Shore there once. Because apparently...
Accidentally?
Were you there the night Pauly Shore had the guy punch him out?
Well, I think that's the club that one of his relatives or his parents own. So he does sets there quite a bit. And I just walked past a room and there's Pauly Shore. So I stepped in, like, because they didn't stop me. So I stepped in and watched a bit of his set. And he was actually really funny. Why not? Yeah. Like that guy.
Yeah.
So besides...
Listen to some Joey Diaz stuff. I'll send you some links, right?
Joey Diaz.
He's one of Joe Rogan's buddies, but he was like a New Jersey Cuban gangster and then went to prison for kidnapping and stuff and then cleaned his act up and got into comedy after.
Oh, that sounds interesting.
That guy can just tell story after story after story about real stuff that he did that you can't even believe that he survived.
Real quick tangent. Who is everyone's favorite stand-up? Jim, I'll start with you. Who's your favorite stand-up?
Oh God, I don't even have one.
First person that comes.
Honestly, I'm gonna say like 1960s Bill Cosby. That's what, because I have the records, right? Like the old 33 LPs.
He was funny back in the day. Say what you
dude. That was the first thing. The first stuff that I ever heard of stand-up comedy was that, like Frankenstein and smearing green jello on the couch and chicken heart.
Yeah.
What about you, Hunter? Who's your favorite stand-up? Would you say, just real quick?
Man, I've got two because they're like pretty neck and neck. Dave Chappelle is probably my absolute favorite.
I love his white guy voice. His white guy voice never ceases to kill me. Every time.
Like a close second to that would be Bill Burr.
Oh, and Bill Burr could Eddie Izzard. Funny. Oh yeah, absolutely. What
So
about you?
I gave you 3, but yeah.
That's fine. What about you, Spaz?
I'd go with Dana Carvey.
Oh God, he hasn't done stand up in so long.
I know.
It's so sad.
The
'cause he was
last one I
so-
think that I saw was 2008, I think.
Yeah, and that was a great one.
Yeah.
Oh, he's so funny. Oh my God. For me, I have to go with Brian Regan. Like I love Brian Regan, and he's no longer with us, but Richard Jenny, for a long time was one of my favorites. And
He was great.
Yeah, he was fantastic. Oh, and who was the other guy who suicided? Mitch Hedberg.
Robin Williams.
No, Mitch Hedberg.
Oh yeah, that too.
Oh my God, Mitch Hedberg. Oh my God, Robin Williams was he didn't do enough stand up in my opinion, but he was great.
I just bought a donut. Why do we need to bring a pen and paper into this transaction?
Yes.
Sorry, this escalator has suddenly become stairs. We apologize for the convenience.
Yes.
Oh my God. Oh, yeah. Anyway, folks, back to the games. Can you guys think of any other games off the top of your head with decent, not great, not terrible usability before we move on to the poor ones? You covered a lot.
If no one's got any, I got a segue one for you.
Go for it. Hit me. We're moving on to poor usability now.
Here's the segue where it's okay usability, but also goes into poor usability, and that's EVE Online.
Oh no! Yeah,
So
no, you're not wrong.
One of the game's biggest failings is its new user experience. Now, granted, over the years they have made it better, but the level of complexity to that game is just silly. Anything from like the user overlay UI nonsense mumbo jumbo, the market, to just all the and people joke about the spreadsheets, but literally it's kind of like you have to learn how to read what you're looking at, because most of the time people don't even realize that there's like a compare tool in the market. Like you can compare items with each other to kind of see which one that you're really looking for.
Really? I didn't know that either.
Exactly. Yeah, like you can compare different like items. Like, well, what does this afterburner compare to this afterburner, and why are they different? And you can actually bring those up next to each other in like a compare tool like thing that they have built in. But like that's just ridiculous that game is so depthy that you need that.
Yeah, that makes sense.
The game is beautiful. It's rich in history. It spawns amazing news articles like every 6 months.
The emergent gameplay of all that.
Yeah. It's pretty impressive. It's probably one of the most impressive sandboxes ever made.
But at the same time, its walled garden entry is thick.
No, you're not. I can't disagree with you. I love EVE Online. I'm getting better at it, and yeah, it is a challenge. But I gotta say, they've gotten a lot better. I mean, when I first played it back in like 2007 or 8, I felt like I was drilling a hole in my head. Like, what is this? But
from a content perspective, things definitely have gotten better.
Yeah. But like the agency is really great for finding things to do, which they didn't have before. And for me, I think the new gamer experience was very helpful. But I was a returning player, so it wasn't too difficult for me. So maybe that's why. But what is that XKCD cartoon where it's like, the learning curves of MMOs, and then EVE is like a cliff with a
people jumping off of it in a bulldozer.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. I'm gonna say the X series. We talked about it earlier. I mean, they're getting better. They're still not great. I'm gonna say Evercron. I love those games, but when you need a 2.5-hour tutorial to get people into your game, you know, that might not be the best usability. I know what they're going for. You know, I know exactly what they're going for, but like, Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ. And sorry, Derek, you know I love you, but let Battlecruiser 3000, you've made a really impressive game, but trying to crack open that game, not the easiest thing. You know, I mean, I know what you're going for. I know you're going for, you know, in-depth, complex, fully modeled, you know, but trying to play that game? I don't want to have to remember Alt-Shift F9 to do one thing or whatever the... Oh, my God.
And to cliff right off of that, you know, it's not even a game yet, but even in its most, like, and yes, for those that are listening, I do have it. I do have access to it. I do have an account for it, and I do check it out from time to time. And even in its most latest build, that game is still just like the user interface, in my opinion, is the worst.
It's not great. Yeah, it's not.
You know, like the flight stuff. Like, look, way back in the early days, before they added all the walking around bullshit, when it was just the space flight stuff, that felt great, and it was fun, and it was interesting. You had the race arena, and then you had like the space combat thing, and you could just like fly around and shoot around in a couple of cool areas, and it felt good. Now it does not feel remotely. It's because it's so complex because they're trying to simulate every little thing, and it is just ridiculous.
Frying eggs
and pooping.
Like, why?
Because apparently you can
procedural fried eggs, ladies and gentlemen,
and apparently you can poop in the game as well, because they have toilets. And apparently
we can do that in Ark too.
Oh God!
But is it procedural?
Procedural poops.
I guess the fact that you can use it to make fertilizer.
Yeah, but you can't like poop different shapes. It's like, oh, come look, I pooped a J.
Now, I hope folks don't get mad at me for this next one. I love this game with all of my heart, but Emperor of the Fading Suns has a terrible interface. Let's just be honest. It has a terrible, terrible interface. It's a great game. Once you kind of grok the interface, it's a great game. But, oh my God, the interface. Oh my God. Like, I've tried to go back to it, and I play it for like 2 minutes. I'm like, nope. I can't do this. I played that game to death back in the day. I played it so long it would crash because the turns took too long and used up the memory on the computer. Because that's how buggy that game used to be, and just would crash the whole computer like hard. And I can't do it anymore. It's just that bad. It's just that bad. I would love it if they could revisit it. Like maybe if the Snowball Armada thing does well, you know, that's
hopefully Noble Armada does well. Yeah,
that's another game that needs work on the user interface. Just saying, it's not done yet, so I didn't feel fair in completing it, but including it. But woo, I mean, I love you guys working on that. I love you, Holistic, but yeah, you need a little work on that one. So this one's a bit weird. Independence War 2. Great game, but unmodded. You're going to want to kill yourself with that goddamn interface.
Oh, the map, dude. The map.
Not just the map, just anything. But the map especially. But like that hat-based interface where you had to go click, 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 click. No. Just give me a goddamn menu. For God's sakes. Which is what they modded in with the map. They modded in a thing where it was just a simple list of destinations. Just boom, done, go. Great. But that map especially, oh my God.
Yeah, it was like you had to memorize what was where and then drill down into.
Oh my God.
It's and like, even then, I remember that this sun has this planet that has this moon. And it takes 3 clicks to get there.
Oh my God. And even then, it's like, oh, I flicked the hat the wrong way. Now I'm in another system. I gotta go back up and then over and then down again. It's like, oh my God, I hate this.
Yeah, it's a thing that again, 3030 Death War did everything right.
Oh my
And
God.
All games
Everything
should be 3030 Death War.
Yeah, if you guys are making a space game, look to games like 3030 Death War for an example of how to do interface right, how to do transit right.
And how to do dope freaking B-movie references. Because when I found Willard the Robot in there, I lost my mind.
Oh,
God,
amazing,
that was funny.
And amazing soundtracks, amazing music, like amazing 80s style music. Oh my God. The last game I was going to mention for poor usability is Star Trek Bridge Commander. I can't stand that game. I'm sorry. That game just annoys me to no end. Like, I think Bridge Crew is a much better interface and better gameplay.
Oh, by leaps and bounds. Yeah.
Yeah. Like Bridge Crew was like, it was like they made it complicated for the sake of just being complicated. Like, you're on a starship, so we're going to make this hard on you. Like, why? Why did you do this to me? You didn't need to do this. God damn it.
I don't know. I liked it.
It's like, once you get past the interface, the game isn't bad. But I really fought with that interface for a while. And I kind of never got over it. Like, why did you need to do this? Like, just copy the interface from Starfleet Command. That was great.
And it feels so dated now.
Oh my
That's
God.
the other thing, is it just does not hold up well at all. So trying to go back to it now is just...
Oh my God. Yeah,
it's an exercise in frustration. Which leads me to the other game I was going to mention.
Ooh. Ooh.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Star Trek Birth of the Federation.
Oh.
Now,
yes.
now, don't get me wrong. I actually liked this game back when it was new, because I played it a lot back then.
Right.
But its interface was horrendous.
Oh God.
The micromanagement was... So in order to... Let me just lay this out for the listeners here. In order to actually handle all of your production for all the planets that are in your empire, you have to actually go to each one and set them up individually. Which means every turn, every time there's, maybe 4 or 5 things that get done, and you have to add more stuff to the queues, you have to go through each individual planet and make sure that you're actually adding the stuff you need to. Because there's not really much in the way of an AI governor to say, build this. You got to set up your queues manually. The space combat was actually the best part of it. And it's because it was turn-based. And if you had just a few ships against just a few ships, it was great. Because each ship could have individual maneuvers that they take on. Whether they're going to try to joust with the other ship, or the tactics you take, or how you're going to try to position your ship to maximize your shield facings. All of those things were awesome, except when you were dealing with battles that had 50 ships and 50 ships on each side, or even more than that. It just became a blob on each side, and you couldn't control much of anything except to send them in big groups and hope that, one side destroys the other, and it's not yours.
Right.
And then, of course, there was the other part about it with the bugginess of the game. After about 60 turns, the game could actually freeze up just because there would be memory leaks, and it was just not well optimized.
Ugh.
That said, if you get past all of that, you could actually have a fun time.
Right. Now, you remind me of another Star Trek game I played recently that just has terrible usability, and that's Star Trek Legacy. One of the few Star Trek games from Bethesda, of all people. It wants you to use a gamepad, I think, and the controls apparently the controls are better on the consoles than the PC. Apparently, I read, but on the PC they were just mind-numbingly terrible. Just, it made no sense. They made absolutely no sense at all. it was actually,
Legacy was just a stripped down Starfleet Command.
Really was
3D movement.
Yeah, and it wasn't good 3D movement. Like, it wasn't fun, and the starship combat was so annoying because the controls are so goddamn convoluted. Like, I wanted to enjoy that game because you could fly the Defiant, you could fly the Refit Enterprise, which are my two favorite ships, but I couldn't get past the first few campaign missions. Like, I was just done. It was just,
yeah. Instead, play Starpoint Gemini Warlords and then mod the Defiant in. That's what you should do. That is what everyone should do.
That's what everyone should do. Because one, it's a great game,
which,
and two,
by the way, it's on sale.
Is it
again? Like now, I think over at GOG.
Is it? Hang on.
I saw a tweet from those guys yesterday about, hey, if you missed it on the whatever sale, and it's on. I'm not sure where.
I'll look at is there any deal real quick. But yeah, folks, if you haven't gotten Starpoint Gemini Warlords, especially to fly around to Defiant, it's worth it for that alone. I mean, it's a great game, but being able to fly around Defiant. Oh, it's on sale in a few places. Let's see. Yeah, right now the cheapest price is Game Billet. Or is that Billet? I don't know. Billet? Game Billet.
It would be Billet.
Billet, Billet, Game Billet, $7.18 right now. So if you guys haven't bought it, go to Game Billet. Buy that damn game. Because it's really great, actually. And
you absolutely need the Cycle of War DLC.
You need all the DLC.
Let's
just be honest.
Yeah, you need all the DLC, but if you're only going to get one, get that, because it changes up the game significantly. More ways to play.
Yeah, yeah. That's the one that adds the aliens, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And the pirates as a playable faction.
Oh my god. I gotta get back into that game. I played it once when I got the new computer, and it was like, oh, this is so pretty. But I haven't really touched it since. I need to get back into that. Any other games we can talk about with poor usability before we start wrapping up?
Apollo 4X.
Oh my god.
Oh no. Oh no.
Oh shit. It's been so long. I forgot to read the rules on the Discord again. I am so sorry. I am so sorry.
Son of a bitch. I was really hoping that would never. Okay. Well, one game I'll mention.
Look, I'm getting back into this.
You know what's funny though is over on Explorminate. Do you guys listen to Nate on Explore?
Sometimes.
Have you ever noticed how many times Apollo 4X comes up whenever they talk about shit they hate?
No.
It's still, man, they get my dead horse out and beat it. Like, I would say at least once every 3 months.
Oh.
Well, you know what they say about a dead horse. You beat it until it's funny again.
I don't think I've ever heard that. That's great. I guess another game I forgot to put on this list for poor usability is, even though I love it, Stars. Did you guys ever play Stars?
Oh, yeah.
It's a great game. It's a great game, but my God, that interface. It is like prime Windows 3.1. Like, not Windows 95, y'all. 3.1. And, wow, that interface. So many drop-down menus. Just drowning.
It hasn't aged well in terms of why, but its gameplay is still pretty solid.
It's still really solid.
People
still play it, like over email and stuff. People still play it. You believe that?
I believe it.
Yeah, that's amazing. I think that's it, though. Anyone else have any additions before we wrap up? Okay. So we're going to wrap it up here, folks. Just a couple of quick programming notes. Thursday on the LAN party, Spaz and I are going to be auditioning a new long play game. We are going to try Divinity Original Sin and see how we like it.
Is that an Original Sin?
Yes, this is Original Sin. We're going to try. Apparently, that game in co-op is amazing from what I've read. And what what little I've played of it has been really good. So I would hope that the co-op is great. So we're going to be playing that on Thursday. And then next Tuesday for the podcast, we're going to have kind of a check-in show. And I mean this in two ways. One, I'm going to go back and look at our old episodes and try and suss out where a lot of the games we talked about ended up. Like, for example, Rogue Systems, sadly, is still not done, even though that was like our third episode 6 years ago. Star Citizen, clearly. But there are games that have been finished, like Rogue Galaxy. So we'll probably talk about the ones that weren't finished and just disappeared. A lot of games just ended up going nowhere and just went, pfft, which is really sad. But there are quite a bit of games that just went like, poof. Yeah, like Galaxy Heist. Excelsior just brought up on Twitch, just brought up Galaxy Heist. Very good mention. What the hell ever happened to those guys? So yeah, we're just going to try and go through and find out what happened. And then we're also going to check in with each other. Like, what are we playing lately? And what's really has our attention. So it'll be a fairly random show next week. But it's good to do that every once in a while. Just, check in with each other and shoot the stuff. So that's what we're going to talk about next week. So folks, thank you so much for listening. This has been a fairly random show, but we talked about a lot. It was a really fun show, and the chat has just been off the hook tonight, especially on YouTube. Like, thank you so much, everyone over on YouTube, for chatting with us and each other. That's been just great to watch. If you want to chat more, head over to our Discord if you haven't already. We have a really active Discord, and we invite you all to head over there. And I forgot to mention, we've finally launched a swag shop. I talked about this briefly last week. It's on Teespring. It's teespring.com/space-game-junkie. There's also a link to it in the footer of spacegamejunkie.com. It's the Teespring logo. And you can get shirts and tote bags if you're an NPR listener, and all sorts of things. So, and help support the cost of hosting and whatnot. Because, and paying for restreams so we could Twitch on multiple services, things like that. So, every little bit helps. So thank you, everyone, for watching and chatting. And for you folks listening on MP3, thank you for listening and subscribing. And we'll see you next time. Have a great one, folks. Bye-bye.